What is suspense in fiction? How does it work? How can we use it? The human mind is set up to anticipate. That's a large part of our mind as a survival, as fulfilling the function for survival. That its outlook is to anticipate. So suspense in fiction is putting off something that you want the reader to anticipate. Now, try doing this exercise. Write a scene, keep it under a page, and have one character in the scene reacting to something that you aren't revealing to the reader yet. Have them sitting there smiling and responding to something that you haven't yet revealed to the reader, and already know ahead of time what that is that they're responding to. Say that there is a television that they're watching, and they're watching something funny on TV, and all you're writing about is what they're smiling, they're responding to something. Now, after you write that scene, what you have done is set up suspense, because when the reader reads that, different regions of their brain, different highly evolved regions of the brain, because there are so many aspects of the human brain developed specifically to anticipate the unseen, the unknown, that hasn't happened yet. So a way to get your reader more involved, a way to get your reader's brain more involved, is to utilize those parts of his or her brain, to get them turned on and cooking. And the way to do that is to get them trying to figure out what it is that is happening in your story that they can't see yet. So suspense is hardly ever about the bomb that is about to go off, or the knife that's about to plunge into the heart, or you don't need to make a big noise, big explode. That does not necessarily create more exciting fiction. What creates more exciting fiction is to get your reader, is the game of getting your reader to anticipate what will happen, to be interested in trying to figure out what will happen. Now, it's very important that better writing is when their anticipation eventually is gratified, when they eventually get to find out what it is off screen that your character is responding to. And that's sort of like you give the reader a wrapped present and they don't know what's inside of it, and they go through the trouble of trying to unwrap it, and then they get gratified with discovering what it is inside. So false surprises in fiction are hardly at all as gratifying as surprises that make sense to the story, that have the added advantage of giving them more insight into one of the characters, or might be funny, might make them laugh, that have the added sort of like, make it like a gift, make it so that when they finally do find out, they're rewarded for anticipating. And sometimes that reward would be that something devastating happens that confirms their feelings of entertained fear. Fear, it can be good when it's a mode of entertainment. So if they're being entertained, if it's an entertainment type fear, if that fear is rewarded by finally the car does crash, they're like, well, that's one of the things I thought would happen, and they're gratified by that. So the use of suspense in your fiction, you can build suspense in your fiction sometimes in just the timing that you use when you're writing. If you go about And it does not have to be a big deal. It could be something quite small. You could have, if you're about to introduce a new character in your story, just before you introduce it, you might have two of the characters that you have in the story talking about them, so that the reader doesn't know who they're about to meet, but they're anticipating, and their brain, more parts of their brain turn on, and that the experience of your story becomes more real for them, and they feel it more because they're using more of their brain to enjoy your story. So you have two characters that are talking about the character that is yet unknown to your reader, so they kind of get an idea about what that character might be like. But you're putting it off, you're delaying it, so that they consciously they're reading the story, but subconsciously they're anticipating, they're hoping, their energies are building up, waiting for that surprise. If you have a character and they hear some banging in the other room, and they're frightened, and they're trying to think about what they are going to do about it, and then it turns out that banging is just a door blown in the wind. That's sort of like a false alarm, and sometimes that's helpful, but if you use that too often, it just does not play out as well as if you have something that will move the story forward, will change one of the characters, will change the situation, will change what is at stake, will make, if one person had the advantage, might turn it around, turn the tables, make it so that the other person is at advantage. So when you do gratify, try to make that as meaningful in one way or another as you possibly can. And it's not a hard, fast rule, but it's something to keep in mind. I mean, it's been my experience that while I'm writing a story, I'm not thinking of these things. I just have a story in mind, and I'm writing it out. And then when I go back in a later draft, I think, do I need to add much suspense to this? Can it hold on its own? Possibly it can, but a way to get your reader amped for your story is to add suspense. And yes, it can be more technique than pure creativity, but it's a technique that works. You want to get the reader's juices flowing, and the way to do that is to get them to anticipate. As an exercise, you could spend a day where you just write down in your journal things that you anticipate in your real life, to get tuned in to the way this is really the way our brains are at. Think about not what is actually happening, but the whole environment of what you're anticipating, the different things that can happen just for one day. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Please take the time. I'm working on this mammoth project, Terrible Immunity. I'm putting it up for free at solomation.com. It's going to take years and years to do. Please take the time to go to solomation.com and check it out. Illustrated story. Also, please hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. If you have any thoughts about suspense in fiction, please leave a comment. As another exercise you can do, you can write a story about a character in a neighborhood who's going to elaborate measures to prepare for something that character will not talk about, but it could be very elaborate and strange. It could be a matter of building shields around a building, or just and everyone doesn't know what they're doing, and the matter of suspense is, what is it that they're preparing for? Will it actually happen? What will the outcome be? And then go ahead and write and keep the topic of what it is they're preparing for, and whether or not their preparation is actually for anything real or not. Keep that away from the knowledge of the reader until the very end, and then you can have the reveal, and you gratify your reader. Remember that good writing doesn't always have to be suspenseful. Suspenseful is something that you use to enhance your writing, but don't get too tangled up in the idea that you have to have that point of anticipation for it to be good writing all the time. I hope that was helpful. I hope your writing goes wonderful. Please, if you like this video, hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.